My sister stole my wedding date to humiliate me. At her anniversary, she giggled, "He said you were desperate." I whispered, "He proposed to me last week." Her smile died instantly. I'm Sienna. I'm 38 now. I live in Asheville, North Carolina, and I work in marketing. My life has always been quiet. I like slow mornings, soft jazz on the radio, and the smell of old books. I'm the type of person who remembers birthdays, brings homemade food to the office, and sends handwritten thank you cards. My sister, Celeste, couldn't be more different. Celeste is the kind of woman who walks into a room and expects it to rearrange itself for her. She's always been like that, from prom queen to sorority president to marrying a finance bro she met at a rooftop party. My parents adored her. Even when she caused trouble, they smoothed it over with, "Well, that's just Celeste." Growing up, I spent more time trying not to step on her toes than actually forming a bond with her. There were good moments, of course, late-night movies, shared clothes, sleepovers with whispered secrets, but they were fleeting. As we got older, the rivalry deepened. Not the loud, explosive kind. It was quieter, more polite. But it was always there. When I met Wyatt, I genuinely thought things were changing for me. He was an architect, thoughtful, mellow, easy to talk to. We met at a wine tasting event my firm organized, and within a month, we were inseparable. He wasn't flashy or overly romantic, but he had the steadiness that made me feel safe. It was the first time in years I felt like someone saw me, really saw me, and not just in comparison to my sister. We dated for 2 years. The proposal came on a foggy autumn morning during a hike at Chimney Rock. I cried. He smiled. We started planning. This is where the cracks begin to show. Celeste had gotten married the year before in Italy, a massive, extravagant affair with a custom Vera Wang dress and a private villa. The kind of wedding that makes Instagram influencers feel poor. My parents were in awe. I wasn't jealous, not exactly. I didn't want that kind of spectacle. But I did notice how they kept comparing everything I chose to her wedding. "Are you sure about that venue? Celeste's was so elegant. You're not going to have a live band?" Celeste offered to help. I should have known better. Every suggestion she made came with a passive-aggressive jab. She'd send me dress styles saying things like, "This might work for your figure," or criticize the flower choices with a fake smile and a raised brow. But I held my tongue. I kept things civil. I told myself she just didn't know how she sounded. And then, 3 months before the wedding, Wyatt started to drift. He was suddenly busy all the time. He canceled date nights, got short over text, stopped talking about the wedding altogether. I chalked it up to cold feet, maybe stress. I gave him space. One night, he came over and stood in my kitchen like a stranger. He didn't sit down. He didn't even take off his coat. He said, "I can't marry you, Sienna." Just like that. No preamble. I asked why. He talked about needing space, not feeling sure, feeling pressured. He never mentioned Celeste. I fell apart. I called my sister, twice. No answer. I texted her. Nothing. The next morning, she sent me a short message, "I'm sorry, Sienna. Maybe this is for the best." No call. No questions. Just that. 2 weeks later, a coworker sent me a photo of them. Wyatt and Celeste. At a bar in Charlotte, sitting too close, smiling like they hadn't ruined anything. Her hand was on his knee. I confronted her. Her response? Cool as ice. "I didn't steal him," she said. "He came to me. Said he wasn't happy. Said you were desperate." Sad, really. She shrugged. That same fake sympathy she always used when someone was beneath her. And then she smiled. That was the last real conversation we had. They got married the next year. Big wedding, again. My parents went. Send me photos. Asked if I'd be the bigger person and attend. I didn't. I didn't respond to her emails. I didn't return her calls. But life kept moving. I traveled. I went back to therapy. I got promoted. And 1.5 years ago, I met Alec. It wasn't some fairy tale start. We met at a car repair shop, waiting for oil changes, both of us drinking vending machine coffee. He was a software engineer, 45, a widower, soft-spoken but surprisingly funny. I wasn't looking for anything, but he stayed. Alec is gentle. The kind of person who asks how your day was and actually listens to the answer. He doesn't care about flash or social climbing. He remembers my coffee order and rubs my back when I'm anxious. When he proposed, he didn't do it with a ring or a crowd. We were sitting on the porch during a thunderstorm. He just turned to me and asked if I'd build a life with him. I said yes. We haven't told many people. It's been peaceful. Quiet. The way I always wanted. And then Celeste's anniversary invitation arrived. Part of me wanted to toss it. But something told me I needed to go. Not for her. For me. Closure, maybe. The event was at the Greenbrier, in West Virginia. Lavish, of course. Champagne fountains, a live quartet, flowers that probably cost more than my mortgage. Celeste was in a dark green dress, dripping in jewelry. Wyatt looked worn out. Maybe I was imagining it, but there was something off about the way he looked at me, like he remembered something and regretted it. Late in the evening, she came over to me. She smiled that same smirk she wore in high school. The one she used when she'd just broken something of mine and lied about it. She leaned in, wine glass in hand, and said, almost sing-song, "He told me you still text him sometimes. That you're still desperate." I didn't blink. I didn't give her the drama she wanted. I just whispered, "He proposed to me last week." The smile dropped. She froze. I smiled back, soft, calm, and walked away. I left her standing there, glass hovering midair, her mouth slightly parted like she was about to say something, but didn't. She didn't follow me, didn't call out. And I didn't look back. Alec was seated near the garden fountain, sipping ginger ale. He stood when he saw me approaching, touching my back gently as I sat beside him. I didn't need to tell him what happened. He gave my hand a reassuring squeeze. That was enough. The next hour passed slowly. I mingled a bit, made polite conversation with guests I hadn't seen in years. Most were distant acquaintances from Celeste's circles, college friends, high-end realtors, people who wore their net worth like perfume. Everyone was dressed to impress, and everything was filtered through an Instagrammable lens. But underneath the glitz, there was a hollowness. I saw Wyatt twice more that night. The first time, he was alone, watching me from across the lawn. When our eyes met, he didn't smile. He looked tired. Not in the way someone is after a long party, but soul-tired. The second time, he passed near Alec and me as we were leaving. He gave a small nod. Alec returned it with a neutral expression, but I said nothing. There was nothing left to say. Celeste never approached me again that night. I don't know if she told Wyatt what I said. I don't care. 2 days later, I got a text from my mother. No greeting, just, "What happened between you and Celeste?" She was crying after the party. Please don't ruin her anniversary memories. It was so typical of her that I actually laughed. Ruin her memories? I'd been quiet for years. Swallowed betrayal. Disappeared when they asked. Smiled in photos for appearances. If anything, I'd given more grace than most people would have. My response was a single sentence, "Ask her what she said to me first." She didn't reply. That week, I also received an email from Celeste. Subject: I hope you're proud body, I don't know what you're trying to pull, but Wyatt and I are fine. You must be really lonely to make something like that up. Stay away from my marriage. No salutation. No warmth. No apology. Just venom, thinly veiled as self-defense. I didn't respond. Not because I didn't have 1,000 things I could have said, but because she wasn't worth the words anymore. What struck me more than her email was the fact that she assumed I was lying. That I couldn't possibly have someone who loved me, proposed to me, wanted to build a life with me, without it being some twisted play to hurt her. That said everything about how she saw me. I'd spent so many years walking on eggshells with her. Holding my tongue to keep the peace. Playing the dutiful sister while she walked over boundaries like they were suggestions. But something had shifted in me. Alec noticed it too. One night, a few days after the party, we were sitting on the couch, no TV, no music, just the soft hum of the ceiling fan, when he said, "You seem lighter. Like something let go." And he was right. It wasn't about Wyatt anymore. or even Celeste. It was about releasing the role I'd been assigned since childhood, the one who fixes things, who absorbs the damage, who stays silent. I wasn't that woman anymore. But life doesn't stop just because you've had a revelation. There were still complications, namely, the awkward vacuum now between me and my parents. They weren't saying much, but I knew my mother was simmering. She didn't like public drama. And Celeste? Celeste wasn't used to being left speechless. She thrived on control, and I'd disrupted the narrative she'd curated so carefully. About 2 weeks after the anniversary party, I got a call from Wyatt. I hesitated, stared at the screen as his name pulsed on it. I hadn't heard his voice in over 2 years. I let it ring out. He called again the next day. This time, I let it go to voicemail. His message was short. Hey. I don't know what to say. I've been thinking. If you ever want to talk. Just talk. I'd like that. I deleted the message. There was no vindication in it. No spark of revenge. Just a dull, quiet sadness. I knew he was unhappy. I knew he regretted his choice. But he had made that choice freely. He had hurt me not just once, but in layers, and then built a new life atop my broken trust. Whatever dissatisfaction he now felt wasn't my burden to ease. The truth was, I didn't hate him. I didn't even hate Celeste anymore. I felt removed. Like they were characters in a story I used to care about, but had since outgrown. But as anyone who's been through family betrayal knows, the hardest part isn't the anger. It's the grieving. You don't just lose people. You lose the version of yourself that loved them, trusted them, wanted their approval. That's the part that takes time. Alec and I went forward quietly. We didn't rush the wedding plans. We weren't aiming for anything dramatic or grand. Just a ceremony that felt honest, rooted. We picked a date, early fall. The leaves would be changing. Asheville would be glowing with amber and gold. It felt like a new beginning. Still, the storm wasn't fully over. I knew Celeste. She didn't like losing control of the narrative, and I had yanked it out from under her. She'd say I was trying to steal her spotlight. That I was envious. That I was bitter. But I wasn't. I had simply stopped playing the game. And that, for someone like her, was the deepest betrayal of all. A week after Wyatt's call, Celeste showed up at my house. I hadn't seen her since the anniversary party. It was late afternoon, the air outside still warm but the breeze finally hinting at fall. I was on my porch watering my peace lilies when her car pulled up. She didn't get out right away. Just sat there, engine idling, probably rehearsing whatever speech she thought would fix things or put me in my place. She finally stepped out, in oversized sunglasses and a fitted blazer too expensive for this time of day. She always dressed like she might run into a magazine photographer, like she needed to be seen, admired. She walked up the porch steps slowly, glancing around like she wasn't sure if she should be there. "Can we talk?" she asked. I didn't move from the bench. I set the watering can down, brushed some damp hair from my cheek, and gave her a nod. Not a welcome, just permission. She sat on the edge of the wooden chair across from me like she didn't want to commit to staying. Her hands twisted around the strap of her purse. "I didn't know," she started, eyes hidden behind those sunglasses. "I didn't know you'd moved on. That you were seeing someone." I tilted my head. "Moved on from what, exactly?" She bristled. "From Wyatt. From the wedding. From everything." "You mean from the man who left me 3 months before our wedding to be with you?" I asked quietly. "That Wyatt?" Celeste flinched slightly. "I didn't steal him, Sienna." I gave a small, dry laugh. "You keep saying that like it makes you feel better." She took off the sunglasses finally, placing them on the arm of the chair. Her eyes looked tired. Heavier than I remembered. "He wasn't happy with you," she said, and for a moment, I thought she was going to spiral into her old script, justifying everything with half-truths and rewritten memories. But she didn't finish the thought. Instead, she sighed, looking down at her manicured hands. "Things aren't as perfect as they look." There it was. I waited, not offering any comfort. She wasn't here for comfort, not really. She was here for control. But I wanted to hear the rest. She looked up again. He talks about you sometimes. I stiffened. Not in a pining way, she added quickly, just, your name comes up. Little things. The books you liked. Your cooking. That dumb cat mug you used to have that said per my last email. She gave a weak laugh. He still drinks from it. Says it reminds him of simpler days. That mug had been mine. I'd left it at Wyatt's apartment a few weeks before he left me. I hadn't even thought to ask for it back. I think, Celeste said slowly, he misses who he was with you. I blinked. Is that why you're here? To tell me your husband's nostalgia is my fault? No, she said quickly. I thought we should clear the air. I leaned forward slightly. Celeste, there is no air to clear. You did what you did. He did what he did. I survived it. And you don't get to come back now, years later, hoping for some kind of absolution just because things aren't storybook perfect anymore. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. I stood. I'm happy. And not in spite of what happened, but because I rebuilt after it. You don't get credit for that. There was a long silence. The wind rustled the trees around the porch. A squirrel darted across the steps. The world kept moving. I guess I deserved that, she muttered. I didn't respond. She picked up her sunglasses, stood slowly, and for a second, I thought she might cry. But she didn't. Celeste never cried unless there was an audience. I hope he makes you happy, she said. And before I could answer, before I could even process if she meant Alec or Wyatt, she walked away. I didn't tell Alec right away. He had been running errands, and I didn't want to taint the evening with her energy. Instead, I made dinner. Chopped garlic. Stirred pasta. Lit a candle. When he came home, I let him talk about his day, his coworkers' annoying habit of using corporate buzzwords, the way the cashier at Whole Foods insisted he try kombucha samples. Only when we were sitting down to eat did I mention it. She came by, I said, cutting into a tomato. He didn't flinch. Just looked up calmly. Celeste? I nodded. What did she want? Honestly? I sighed. I think she wanted to know if she still mattered. He leaned back slightly. And does she? I smiled faintly. Not the way she wants to. He reached for my hand across the table. And just like that, the tension unraveled. A few days later, I got another email from my mother. Subject: I heard you spoke to your sister Body. She said she came to make peace and you were cruel. I'm asking you, Sienna, please don't stir things up. She's been through a lot. I stared at the screen for a long time. She's been through a lot. Those words clung to me. They echoed all the excuses I'd heard growing up. When Celeste stole my things, she's under pressure. When she lied, she didn't mean it. When she hurts me, she's just struggling. And yet, when I hurt? When I was crying on the floor after Wyatt left? Silence. Indifference. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Instead, I spent that evening finalizing wedding plans with Alec. We'd decided on a small ceremony at Max Patch, a bald mountain top just outside of Asheville, where the Appalachian Trail cuts across a breathtaking 360-degree view of the Smokies. A friend of Alec's had a brother who officiated intimate ceremonies. We weren't inviting more than 12 people, close friends, chosen family, no one out of obligation. My parents wouldn't be there. I'd made peace with that. Celeste certainly wouldn't be there. But in letting them go, in releasing myself from the web of performance and expectation, I'd made room for something far better. Still, I knew the story wasn't over. People like Celeste don't just fade. Not when they've built a life around being the center of attention. And something in her expression on my porch. It warned me. This wasn't her last move. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of what she might do next. 2 weeks after Celeste showed up on my porch, I got a message from an old college friend named Maribel. We hadn't spoken in years, not because anything bad happened, just life. But the message was strange. Hey, sorry if this is awkward, but I saw something weird and thought you should know. Celeste posted on a private group I'm in, kind of venting. She said you were making up an engagement to mess with her head. That you invented Alec. People are backing her up. Just thought you'd want to know in case it escalates. I stared at my phone, pulse steady, not angry. I'm just tired. Celeste's pettiness had gone digital. Rather than confront me directly, she'd taken to whispering online, painting me as a jealous, bitter ex who fabricated a proposal just to ruin her anniversary. It was absurd. But I understood what she was doing. Celeste had spent her entire life managing her image. And in her story, she was always the leading lady. The admired one. The envied one. She could not tolerate a version of reality where I moved on, found love, and, worse, didn't want what she had. Her ego couldn't hold it. I showed the message to Alec that evening, expecting maybe some outrage or concern. Instead, he just laughed, not meanly, just with a kind of bewildered amusement. Wow, he said, scrolling through the screenshots Maribel had shared. She really thinks you invented me? That's almost flattering. I smirked. Should we take a couple selfie with today's newspaper? Nope, he said, tossing his phone on the couch. We'll do one better. And that's when the idea for the wedding announcement came to life. We hadn't planned to post much about the wedding. Alec wasn't a social media guy, and I'd stepped back from most platforms after the whole Wyatt disaster. But now? Now I had a reason. Not to rub it in, not to provoke, just to set the record straight, quietly, and with absolute clarity. A friend of Alec's was a photographer, someone with a great eye but none of that overposed, fake Pinterest energy. She came with us to Mac's Patch the morning of our wedding, hiking up the trail with camera gear slung over her shoulder, wearing hiking boots and a backwards ball cap. The ceremony was perfect. 12 people. Sun filtering through low clouds. Wind whipping through my hair. Alec's hand steady in mine as we read our vows. No frills. No forced smiles. Just the truth. We had a picnic afterward, sandwiches, fruit, champagne, and 2 bundt cakes my friend Cora baked. That evening, after we got back to town, the photographer sent us a few preview shots. One of Alec kissing my forehead, another of me laughing mid-vow, and a final one, the one we chose to post, was us standing barefoot on the mountain, holding hands, eyes closed, nothing posed. The caption was simple: we said yes forever. 10/14/25, Mac's Patch, NC. Within hours, it spread like wildfire through every corner of my family's extended orbit. People I hadn't spoken to in years started liking and commenting. Old coworkers, distant cousins, even my father's cousin from Florida whom I barely remembered. And then, silence. Celeste didn't comment. Didn't message. Didn't even acknowledge the post publicly. But a mutual acquaintance from that same private group messaged me 2 days later. Well, that shut her up. She deleted the entire post thread and left the group. Guess Alec's not imaginary after all. Satisfying? More than I expected. But the true moment of peace came the following weekend. I ran into Wyatt, of all places, at the Saturday farmers market. I was grabbing a bunch of lavender, and there he was, alone, standing near the honey booth with a dazed sort of expression. We locked eyes. He froze. He looked older. Not just tired like at the anniversary, but dulled. As if life had chipped away at him slowly. Like the shine had worn off. Hey, he said, voice low. Hey, I replied. A long pause. I saw the wedding photos, he said. You look happy. I am. He nodded. That's good. That's really good. There was silence, and then he said something unexpected. She's not who I thought she was. I didn't reply. He didn't deserve validation. He scratched the back of his neck. I'm sorry. That, at least, I accepted. Thank you, I said. And with that, I walked away. No lingering glances. No longing. Just closure. The final crack in Celeste's perfect image came quietly, as I knew it would. About a month after our wedding, I got a call from my cousin Lorna, someone who never took sides growing up, someone who observed everything with a kind of detached wisdom. I ran into Celeste at a gallery event, she said. She looked off. Edgy. Said you'd cut her out of your life and she didn't know why. I raised my eyebrows. Really? She started crying. Told me Wyatt moved into the guest room. Said he brings your name up more than hers. I didn't know what to say. I did. But I kept it to myself. Later that day, Alec and I were sitting on the back porch, watching the sun dip behind the mountains. I told him what Lorna said. He didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He just said, "It always catches up eventually." And it did. But the best part? I didn't have to lift a finger. No screaming. No revenge plots. Just quiet boundaries, a life rebuilt, and a love that didn't require spectacle. Celeste lost the one thing she valued most, her power over me. And that was the most satisfying revenge I could have asked for.